There's a lot of stress and making sure you're not anywhere near the back of the pack is key. But we're off in Super League Triathlon Jersey, the men's Enduro, and a clean start from everyone. Someone there in the middle of the field putting in some work early on, and there's a couple of people already getting spat out of the washing machine, which is occurring in the mid-pack there, and obviously not necessarily smart racing to try and swim over the top of each other and watch someone like a Henry Schaumburg take off ahead of you. But I'm not sure who that is in the middle there, but at the moment,
is it Vincent Louis?
Nice gap. It could be Vincent Louis.
I know he was starting centre of the field, but or sharp. It's one of the bigger athletes, and the physicality of the swim is something to look at, especially on the men's side. We saw last year some broken shoulders from position 7. There's our blue swimmers jersey of Henry Schaumburg on the left, who's sliding up. He'll get the inside run at this first swim boy. The green biker's jersey there.
Yeah, the green jersey of Johnny Brownlee there. You can see that means he is fastest on the bike split. Igor Poliansky, Leo Bergerac, I see there close to screen, and Oliver Turner has been pushed out wide, the boy from Jersey, as they lead out in the first 100 metres of this swim. And it's about conserving energy as much as anything, because there'll be 2 more swims before this race is over. Schaumburg the closest to the boats in 3rd position there. Alongside, yeah, it could be Matthew Sharp actually, as they chop up the water. It is difficult to see, but it looks like Vincent Louis leading. Is it? So I can get a look at that cap there. There is Matthew Sharp. He's behind Jonathan Brownlee. Jean Pereira there in the mid-pack as well, next to Oliver Turner, and then Leo Bergerac still on the outside. Hayden Wilde has been pushed back in the pack considerably. He had such a good race yesterday, finishing 2nd in a tough race. But that is Jonas Schaumburg at the head of the pack in the number 9, the man from Germany, the 24-year-old.
And Schaumburg in 2nd. He's been swimming magnificently in these opening swims. His get-out speed from the pontooners, setting up his races. There's Johnny Brownlee in the green biker's jersey.
Henry Schaumburg behind, just ahead of Igor Poliansky, and on the feet of Jonas Schaumburg. And it'll be hard for Schaumburg, all 190 centimetres of him, to hold off Henry Schaumburg. And already you can see Schaumburg trying to get up on the hip and get around him. But it is hard always when you come up alongside someone like that. You've got to give him a little bit more room in order to get around the outside.
We heard Schaumburg say yesterday that he maybe went off a bit hard in that first swim, so I think he might have learned from that, and he didn't set off quite so hard in that first 100 metres today. He's still going to exit the water first, but maybe he's just energy conserved a little bit. These two are actually slowing it down now, so that you will probably expect to see it bunch up behind them, in the 4 or 5 guys behind them. Louis, Vincent in perfect position there, just not at the front, but in close order. With Poliansky and Johnny, but you can see it's pretty bunched, and you know, it was probably a bit more, well, it was definitely more spread out yesterday on that first swim, with Schaumburg really taking it out quick.
One of the Canadians there in last of all, not sure exactly who that was in the wash.
Nathan Killam.
Nathan Killam, that'll be unfortunate for him, the 32-year-old. He's a real character, as I mentioned before, but Schaumburg first out alongside Louis. That's exactly what we saw last time. Johnny, Igor Poliansky. Couple of slips from the Canadians. Murray there
having a good swim there, importantly, you know, he really nailed that first swim. Christian Blumenfeld back there, but not too bad. His first swim was worse yesterday, so I think he'll probably be pretty happy with that.
There's Yi.
Yeah, there's Yi. Oh no,
big crashes between him and Arturo
Beltran. You do not need to lose.
That's putting him in danger of coming back in the pack. Yeet has to turn around and sees that Nathan Killam and Mauro Cavagna are behind him, so they could be the 2. We'll just see what happens when they get to the top of the ramp. At the front of the pack, though, Matthew Sharp, Henry Schaumburg's already got his helmet on, so he'll lead them out. Brownlee, Mislachuk, and in comes Christian Blumenfeld.
It's interesting, some of them deciding to keep the goggles, and those 2 are eliminated now. So
that is so unlucky.
Interesting to see some of them choosing to put the goggles in the box and some of them choosing to keep them on them. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see afterwards, you know, how and why they made that decision.
Nathan Killam, unfortunate for him, he's put everything into the end of that swim, and then the run up the ramp. So tough, that run up the ramp, and you went down it, and you'll go down it again in a minute. It is steeper than you think.
It is steeper than you think. I think the TV cameras definitely don't do it justice. And Matthew Sharp from Canada, who obviously moved up a few places. Mario Mola kind of stuck in no man's land here, trying to make it onto the back of that front group.
And we know Christian's going to chase that group down.
He only
knows one.
But I really think, I'm sure Christian and Mario will actually get on, but, how much is it costing them to make that gap? And yeah, these two guys here with Yi and the Canadian in the last two, they're gonna desperately want to move up a few places to not get eliminated at the end of this bike.
The Taylor Reid pain face. Interesting how some decide how to put their feet in before that little incline, or just try and use just the pushing power to get up there. But here is that slip, and there is the hand coming across and holding back Arturo Beltran as Alex Yi gets the help from the official. So the official holding back Beltran, and there is Cavagna looking back and seeing Killam behind him.
Nearly eliminated Yi in that first bit. He lost 5 positions just by stumbling. That's really unlucky.
Beltran pushed him as he got up as well. He's like,
once you're down, it's easy to keep you down, isn't it?
Everyone tucking in behind the tallest man in the field, Matthew Sharp of Canada. Vincent Louis now taking the inside line. We know how good his bike handling skills are. He, by his own admission, took a few risks on the bike yesterday, but they certainly paid off. He didn't leave a lot of room out there on the track, but he was using all of it, and that's how quick he was on the bike. Sharp behind him. You can see the two South Africans, Richard Murray now up into third ahead of Schoeman, Tyler Mislachuk, Igor Poliansky and Jonathan Brownlee as they come through for the first time, the first of 4 laps on the bike. Vincent Louis up the front where he has been all weekend.
I'd expect the top few guys here who are serious just want to stay in the top 4 or 5 here. You don't want to be too far back. Like, you're seeing Johnny move around Igor Poliansky. He knows Poliansky's a bad wheel to be on. He's let that gap go around the dead turn and has to move past him. That's energy that you don't want to expend. And Vincent, to be honest, being at the front isn't the worst position. You don't have the draft, but you get to choose your lines around the corners, and you get to corner clean. There's Blumenfeld, and Blumenfeld's moved past Mario Mola, who's moving back down the field, and Hayden Wild again. So, these guys, okay, they might make their way up, but they're expending a lot of energy. Alex, he's moved past, so he's not in the last 2 anymore, so hopefully he stays in.
That's a ride of desperation.
Yeah, he doesn't want to lose too much, and there is Taylor Reid, the Canadian, who has a lot of work to do if he's going to bridge any sort of gap up to Alex Yi, who's suddenly sitting on the bubble. But at the front, Vincent Louis, and I guess with the winds gusting around as they are and the course set up as it is, the question is it better to be out the front and pick your lines, or to tuck in behind? And how much benefit do you think is there of having someone ahead of you as opposed to being in front? I guess it's depending on tactics.
Yeah, I'd have to ride it really to know where you're sitting on the wheel, where you can get. Do you need to be behind or the angle of the wind? I definitely don't think you'd want to be outside the top 3 though. And there's a couple of wheels there who are probably not great wheels to be on. So I would definitely want to be probably in 3rd position is the ultimate position.
Yeah, Vincent Louis is just really railing those corners, and you saw Matt Sharp is in a bit of difficulty holding those wheels, and the technicality of this course is what makes it difficult for groups to stay away. There's not really an ability for groups to catch up, an ability to swap turns and close gaps.
This was really standing out to me at the opening start of this race is how aggressive the front guys are and how much they're pushing it. I think in the women's race they tended to sit back a little bit more and just see how it was going to unfold, but these guys have had the benefit of watching the women's race and seeing how long they think it's going to take, and there's just a lot of aggression at the front of the pack, and we could see a lot of people falling foul of the 90-second rule, which states that at any lap through any part or any discipline on the course, if you're 90 seconds behind the leader, who now as it stands is Richard Murray, who's trying to push it a little bit, you will be eliminated, along with the 2 people at the back of the pack will also be eliminated, until we end up with what we call the Super 6. Once we reach 6 people, there's no more elimination. So if you can find yourself in that, as the women did with a couple of disciplines to go.
Yeah, you can see Richard Murray on the front now. He's another good bike handler. He's waving Matthew Sharp past. They're not racing very aggressively here. They're in order. You can see Johnny's got time to have a drink. You haven't seen many guys in these races. Probably haven't had to actually, apart from this one, because they've had that break. Whereas this is an hour of racing. You probably do want to get just a little bit of fluid and just a little bit of calories on board to make sure you get through it. Okay, I would have used that opportunity to move up to 2nd or 3rd place, to be honest. You can see Matt Sharp is losing a bike length around every corner.
I know, just as I say they're racing aggressively, Johnny sits up and has a drink. Thanks very much, buddy. Doesn't help me, but there you go. Richard Murray ahead of Matthew Sharp.
He's getting a little frustrated, Richard Murray. He's like, look, Matt, come through, do a turn. Vincent Louis very tactically astute. Johnny Brownlee today seems to be sitting a lot closer to the front. We saw him yesterday drift back a little bit. I think Christian Blumenfeld was doing a lot of damage when he moved through in that triple mix yesterday on that bike section, and he's got himself out of danger.
You can see the clock there ticking away, and that's the clock that the athletes can see as they cross, and they can see when it gets close to 90 seconds when they'll be on the bubble, and we should see that in the 4th and 5th discipline, depending on how widely the field strings out. But Matthew Sharp is leading this pack, and we're going to see 2 people eliminated. Who is it going to be? I think after this lap, at this point, it could well be Taylor Reid and Arturo Beltran. But a huge tack forming, and Mario Mola has bridged over along with Hayden Wild, and at the start of, I guess, the second pack is Oliver Turner ahead of João Pereira.
Alex Yee's closed onto that group, so he's put himself out of elimination on this cycle section, and with his strongest discipline, the run coming next, he could move through and get himself into that second swim.
And that puts people like the Schofield brothers, Jaden and Luke, João Pereira, Oliver Turner and Jack Felix. And there is nothing left in the legs of Taylor Reid. He is putting absolutely everything into it, the 27-year-old. He's focused usually on longer format racing, 70.3 racing, and he's finding the pace of it out there tough to withstand. Vincent Louis has decided to push the pace himself on the last lap of the bike. Is that Vincent Louis, sorry?
No, I can't see. It's not Vincent.
It's not Vincent. I look
no,
like
it's
a French flag, but it is in fact Leo Bergeret.
Yeah, geez, he sits well on the bike, Leo. Really, really opening up on those turns, set himself up for a good transition. And this is where transitions count. Coming in front, you've got some spare space. You can get into transition early, but it's the guys that have to transition under pressure that need to do it well.
Bergeret, Matt Sharp, Jonathan Brownlee, Christian Blumenfeld, Vincent Louis, Richard Murray, all the big names up the front. Tyler Mislachuk, who's had a fantastic weekend thus far. Sylvain Friedelance we haven't talked about too much, but he's there as well. And here is that group with Pereira and ended by Yee, who'll cross and be the last of the non-eliminated athletes. The 2 behind him, Arturo Beltran and Taylor Reid, will play no further part in this one. And as we go along, Alex Yee called it the Hunger Games. He's correct. Here's another one who's going to fall by the wayside, and that is Arturo Beltran, who's done his best. Big learning curve for him, and he's put a lot into it, as is Taylor Reid, and they really have left nothing out there, and that's what we love to see in Super League Triathlon racing.
You saw Taylor Reid get off the bike, the lactate. He couldn't even bend his knees. He's in disarray. He's only done the swim and the bike. So Richard Murray straight on the front with Henry Schumann and Jonathan Brownlee. And there he is again, Christian Blumenfeld. And I think for Christian, he needs to use this run to make sure he's in a position. He can find himself a little bit isolated on those swims. And as this race goes on, we saw this in the women's racing, it becomes more and more critical to start near the front.
A South African 1-2. I spoke to Richard Murray at dinner last night, and he was not happy with his performance yesterday. Still ended up in 5th position, but we know how strong he is in this format, and he just said he didn't feel very good. But he woke up this morning feeling a little bit better, and sometimes the sleep will do that to you. It can go the other way as well. Of course, you can wake up very sore, and Jack Felix is digging very deep. One of our Penticton qualifiers to stay with that group, and he could be well in danger. But Richard Murray pushing the pace with Henry Schumann behind him, Jonathan Brownlee, and the red runner's jersey of Christian Blumenfeld. And so much talent in this top 5.
Well, without question, I think the racing mind of Richard Murray really suits this enduro format. He's going to set a tempo very, very fast at the front end of this fight and basically say, hang on. You know, the more you can make it hurt early, the more it's going to accumulate the fatigue. And we saw that in the women's race where the gap started to open up in this second triathlon. We know Henry Schumann is swimming out of his skin at the moment, so he just needs to position himself behind Murray. Murray doesn't always have a traditionally strong swim, so setting that up for this swim session is critical for him.
Yeah, powerful bike runner is Richard Murray, and he comes off what was a very good swim the first time out for him to finish in the top half of the field, and well positioned too. He's had a big year, Richard Murray. He first ever Olympic distance gold in Leeds in the WTS series, and he outran Mario Mola and Vincent Louis in that one. And you know, if you're doing that, you're good on the run. And there is Hayden Wild leading a pack of 4, including Canute. Yep, Mola alongside Tyler Mislachuk. So Mario Mola finishing 7th yesterday, or it was very close, almost a dead heat between himself and Hayden Wild, but he'd expect more of himself after what's been another fantastic year. Alex Yee, one of the fastest men around, national title holder for the 10,000 metres. faster than Mo Farah was at the same age. And now you're not seeing things. That's
Yes.
Jaden and Luke Schofield together. Identical twins. Second and third in the Oceania Champs
And Ollie
this
Turner.
year.
Ollie Turner, the pride of Jersey, the young local athlete who qualified through our Poznan event.
There's the bell for the last lap of the run and the end of the first of 3 triathlons. Richard Murray, Henry Schumann, Vincent Louis, Christian Blumenfeld and Jonathan Brownlee, all 3 of the fastest splits from Jersey last time, the green, the blue and the red. And there's the white of one of our young athletes, Alex Yee, who's locked in a battle with João Pereira to stay out of contention for the elimination. And Igor Polyansky's fallen right down the order ahead of the 2 Schofields, who are so similar in their styles as well as pretty much everything else. Jack Felix behind them, knowing he needs to take both of them to stay out of danger of elimination. Yee just running a little wide there, and Pereira getting the inside line.
He has moved up quite well, Alex Yee. He's got that sheer foot speed, but I think he needs to do a little bit more and close onto that gap. Hayden Wild's been the real standout of this weekend's racing. He's put himself right in the mix again. And it's Mario Mola, the 3-time world champion, who's a little bit further back than I'd like to be if I was in his shoes.
Yeah, Mola's been spending a little bit of time mid-pack. He was the same yesterday as well. And Oliver Turner getting a hero's welcome as he comes through, the 20-year-old representing the locals here. He's 26th in the Commonwealth Games. It was a big moment for him getting Commonwealth Games qualification. He went to Poznan to qualify, didn't manage to do it there, went to Penticton and ended up picking up a ticket to Jersey. But now Vincent Louis has taken his turn at the front as they round the roundabout of peril for the second time before starting the swim once again. We know how strong a swim he has, and we know also how strong a swim Henry Schumann has. So Richard Murray needs to position himself on the back of one or other of the feet of these 2 men, as does Christian Blumenfeld and Jonathan Brownlee.
That is some serious firepower, that front pack of 5. If you're a triathlon fan, there is only Mario Mola missing. That is the cream of the crop of triathlon racing as it stands today. And it's going to be a very, very interesting second swim, because Richard Murray has to swim for his life, because everybody in that group, bar Murray and Blumenfeld, are super swimmers. There's
that chase group of 5, Hayden Wild and Ben Canute at the front, Mario Mola tacked onto the back. But you can see in that shot just how much distance there is between these 2 front packs of 5. Alex Yee fighting with João Pereira, and Sylvain Friedelants, the Swiss national champion, fighting against Jonas Schaumburg, who led out our swim earlier in this punishing enduro. But the pace being set by these 5 men who, as you say, Macca, is just about the best possible triathletes there are to have.
Blumenfeld's put his swim cap on already. Look at that. Swim cap and goggles on. We've still got 250 metres of this run to go. He is ready to rock. He knows this is a critical swim for him. This stroke could get away, and he needs to stay close.
Out come the swim cap and goggles from Vincent Louis
and Jonathan Brownlee.
Richard Murray.
Look at that.
2 caps on already. On go the goggles for Schumann. On go the goggles for Louis. On go the... Gee, this is just some different stuff. The shoes come off from Henry Schumann, who's racked a long way back compared to the others. And here's the chase group of Mola, Wild, Canute, Sharp, and one other. That is Leo Bergeret. And we're into the water for the second of 3 triathlons back-to-back. And Blumenfeld a little bit off the back there, so he'll need to be quick down the very steep ramp if he is to make sure he stays on the feet of our 2 very strong swimmers in Schumann and Louis.
And we're looking for the eliminated run. I think it's one of the twins is gone.
Polyansky, the twins, and Jack Felix. And Felix is the one that's gone. Someone else is back in the pack as well, and we'll wait to see that. But right now we're going to throw to Ali Brownlee, who'll call them in.
So these guys are absolutely locked together. And I think one of the things we haven't talked about is how important this run up and down to the swim is. And that we saw Vincent absolutely fly down. He's going to hit the water first, Murray second, which is exactly where he needs to be. He cannot afford to get distant here. And Blumenfeld just on the back. There's no clear water there, so I probably expect to stay together, but who will it put under pressure? These are the next guys here. Ben Canute just diving in behind Wild and Sharp, and Mario Mola at the back of that group of 5. He's going to have to swim hard to stay in contact here. Alex Yee here moved up well on the run with Mitchell Shook and Pierre. None of them are really known swimmers, so I'd expect them to lose a bit of time, to be honest. Polianski diving in, freelancers Switzerland. No, sorry, that wasn't Polianski, it's Schaumburg. Polianski coming down now. And as we see the guys head out, I think Christian Blumenfeld is at the back there and swimming hard. I can see him throwing his arms around for his dear life.
There's so much action going on down there, Ali. You couldn't be closer to it. But yeah, as you say, as we're seeing pictures now of Oliver Turner being interviewed, having been eliminated alongside Jack Felix. Unfortunate for him, the pride of Jersey, and a big round of applause for Oliver Turner.
Oh, the entire island's down here to support Ollie Turner. It's amazing. You can probably hear it on the coverage. It's absolutely electric out here, and he's without question the crowd favourite.
Absolutely he is, and he deserves all the plaudits for hanging with these guys. Vincent Louis, Henry Schumann, as we thought they would. They're leading the swim out. Discipline 4, we've still got 5 more to go after this. Jonathan Brownlee. And there you can see that gap there to Christian Blumenfeld, who's now probably about maybe 4 or 5 body lengths back, and that's not helping him.
Yeah. And it was a tardy transition that really allowed that gap to open up. So for the athletes behind, if they can grab Blumenfeld's wheel, they know that's the train to the front. He's going to commit on the bike to close that gap, which is a good position to be in if you're on Blumenfeld.
Yeah, you don't like to hear those disc brakes of Christian Blumenfeld behind you if you're doing all you can on the bike to stay clear in a group, because you can hear them, and we'll hear that again later on, no doubt.
I think the worst position to be in would be about 5 or 6 metres off Blumenfeld's wheel, because you know closing that gap is going to be very, very difficult. So this established 4, you know.
I'm looking forward to the pain face of Christian Blumenfeld as he comes in to the next leg, gets on the bike and does everything he can to catch up to the back wheel of these 4. Richard Murray, Jonathan Brownlee, Henry Schumann in the blue, and ahead of them all, Vincent Louis, who took maximum points yesterday, 25 championship points. There's a key permutation here. Henry Schumann was second yesterday, which means he got 21 points. If they go 1-2 in reverse order today and end up on equal points, 46 apiece, that will mean that Schumann will be the champion, being the highest ranked in the Enduro. So any tied points means that you go off your last result, which is the Enduro result today, and he would win it, although there is a long, long way to go and plenty of class and talent as the others have caught Christian Blumenfeld. I think 2 people have bridged that gap to Blumenfeld, and that is great swims by whoever has managed to do that. We'll update you on that.
Vincent Louis is pushing that swim pace. Richard Murray's just dangling a little bit off the back. I give it to
Ali, what can you see out there?
So, yeah, Louis still looking great. Schumann and Johnny out in third. Richard Murray desperately trying to stay in contention. He's got a big run up that ramp to make it into transition. Ben Canute with a great swim there, who's made it past and swum straight past Christian Blumenfeld. He's got a lot of work to do. And Matt Sharp just behind him. I think, yeah, Ben Canute is the big mover there, to be honest. And Christian Blumenfeld, the big mover going backwards. These guys behind now, you know, they're in the battle not to get eliminated. That is Mario Mola just coming out the water now. Probably lost a bit of time in the swim with Leo Berger behind him. They could work together on the bike to move up a little bit, and Tyler Michelschuk. Alex Yee is the next one. You see these guys, you're definitely seeing the fatigue on their face now. You know, that run up this ramp, I think, is absolutely key out of the water. You're seeing places really won and lost. It's steep, and it's probably 30 seconds of running into transition. It's becoming really important. Freelance, Pierre and Schaumburg just out the water, and I think we're going to see, this is Polianski, but he is not. He's third last, so he's going to stay in the race. And we've got these 2 guys, that both the 2 twins. Yeah, I think in the last 2 places here, I think they're going to, they're going to be the 2 eliminated coming off this swim.
Polianski's going to have a move. He could fall 90 seconds back, so he's also in a critical position because the boys up front are really going for it. They've got Johnny on the back foot.
I can't say enough about the swims of Matthew Sharp there and Ben Canute, who come out of the water only, let's have a look here, 10 seconds back. They were much further back from those top 4, so they've really put in on that swim to catch Christian Blumenfeld. And Blumenfeld will have all the work to do, and those 2 will know now that if Blumenfeld does take the lead of that group on the bike, he will be able to pull them back, but he'll expend himself doing so, and you expect him to do that as Luke Schofield about to come out of the water, and the clock here is going to eliminate both of them. It won't matter though, there's no race for this one because they're in the last 2 positions, and that's why Jaden Schofield is not trying too hard to get across. He's happy no matter what. Those guys are having a fantastic week.
They've put the boot in here on Johnny Brownlee. He's had a tardy transition, obviously. Henry Schuman's capitalised on that. I saw him have a glance back before he hit the roundabout, realised Johnny wasn't on the wheel, and basically hammered it. And those three are now escaping, and Johnny finds himself in a difficult position.
Johnny has to throttle up. Johnny's got to throttle up now.
He has to throttle up.
Yeah, happy faces from those two, but yet Johnny, obviously we didn't see it as we were looking at the back of the pack, but something's happened to Johnny Brownlee in transition, and that's hurt him considerably because these three are putting the pace on and trying to put a bit of time into Brownlee, who's having to work extremely hard out there on his own and being buffeted by those winds and just having no one to pace against.
Agreed. I saw him coming into that roundabout. He was having some problems with his shoes. I saw Henry have a glance across. He saw the gap and he capitalised. The one advantage for Johnny is those two men there, Christian Blumenfeld and Ben Canute, both powerhouses on the bike. Blumenfeld will go head down, bum up the entire bike course and could close in on Johnny and close in on those front three.
Sharp finding it hard to stay with those two. As you say, Canute's so strong, and we know how strong Christian Blumenfeld is, but the gaps as they stand, Henry Schumann, Vincent Louis and Richard Murray are 6 seconds ahead of Jonathan Brownlee, with another 7 seconds back to Blumenfeld and Canute and 5 more to Schofield and Sharp. So, I'm sorry, Jaden Schofield's just snuck into our timing there, but Matthew Sharp back a further second there. Mario Mola nearly 40 seconds back, and he's locked once again in a battle with Hayden Wild.
That's quite a buzz for Hayden Wild. You've got the 3-time world champion. You've been battling with him all weekend, and you're stuck together again. You know you're on the right trajectory if you're in a triathlon battle with the 3-time world champ.
It's almost like he enjoyed himself. I spoke to him yesterday. He was so buzzed by hanging out with Mario Mola yesterday. He thought, I'm going to seek him out again and have another crack, because it was so close in the last one. But Henry Schumann has taken the lead of this race ahead of Vincent Louis, 1-2 yesterday and 1-2 today, and there are little mini battles happening all the way across this course as we concentrate on 2 races. The race at the front between these 3 men at the moment and Jonathan Brownlee a little bit further back, and the race at the back to avoid elimination and stay in with a shot. And when it comes to rankings and prize money and everything else, how much time you spend out on course is absolutely key.
You have to give it to Vincent Louis. He really attacks this bike course. He rails every single corner. You watch him use the entire part of the road. He never looks back. He's very, very committed to staying on the front. I think he's realised with Johnny Brownlee off the back, it really makes this a race of 3. And if he can alienate both Johnny and Christian Blumenfeld, he can start focusing on winning this event.
It looks like there was a pedal problem for Jonathan Brownlee, and I think we're going to see it in replay right now. Here he comes to the mount line, and he looks to try and find his feet, and he's just had a problem with his shoes and finding a spot on the pedal, and that is all it takes, really.
Well, that's Super League racing. We talk about the 4 disciplines of Super League racing, transitions being the key one. You can be out by 80% on other athletes in your transition alone.
Louis just adjusting his own left shoe as well and allowing Richard Murray to take a little bit of time at the front, so they're sharing the workload a little bit. We know Murray's a great tactical racer, and he was calling Matthew Sharp up the last time they were out on the bike, but these 3 working together, and perhaps Henry Schumann having to dig a little deeper than usual to hang on to the back wheel of Vincent Louis. It's very interesting here. You've got a couple of really strong swimmers against a strong and powerful bike runner, and Jonathan Brownlee, the complete athlete at the back. You really can't fault him, the 2012 world champion, in terms of his consistency, but he's having to really go to the well to try and avoid being pushed too far back from these 3.
He's riding exceptionally well because Blumenfeld's not making an impression on him at all, and we know Christian is really one of the strongest on this course, and it's taken him 4 laps and not 3 laps, and he hasn't moved up on Johnny at all.
He was 5 seconds back, Christian Blumenfeld, on Jonathan Brownlee on the last lap. We'll see what the splits look like next time when they've come over the transponders again, but these 3, and that gap has narrowed considerably now, just as you say that. Macca, the 3 up the front, are doing it easy, well, as easy as you can at this point. And then Jonathan Brownlee's being forced to hold off the powerhouse lungs and power of Christian Blumenfeld, who is stalking him.
I think the 3 up front know that Blumenfeld's going to come on this run. He's so fast out of these corners, they can establish a bit of a break. He's going to come. Johnny's just got to tag that and try and move up. I think they're definitely within a safe position, but we just don't need those 3 to get away.
Well, with Brownlee and Blumenfeld both doing a little bit of a solo ride in that last lap. The top three put 5 more seconds into them, and that could prove crucial when it comes down to who leads into the third of the 3 triathlons. Alex Yee flirting with the 90-second rule. He's about 60 seconds back at this point. These guys are a bit closer. I think that's Schaumburg and Sylvain Friedelance. Mario Mola is now 45 seconds back, the world champion, so he's having a tough time of it here at Super League. He arrived a little bit later than the other athletes, maybe had a little bit of less time to acclimatise to the conditions. João Pereira gets over the line just as the 90-second rule is about to eliminate Igor Polyansky, and he is so close to making it through, but he'll be told to slow down and stop, and that's devastating for Igor Polyansky. He lost a lot of time on the first bike.
Which means there's 2 going to be eliminated with this next elimination. So Joel Pereira and I can't recall who was in front of him. 2 will still be eliminated.
The leaders are into transition. So an extra elimination by virtue of the 90-second rule, and we're starting to lose more than 2. Igor Polyansky.
Good transition by Schumann.
He's out, yeah, Schumann, a great transition. He's very good at that, as is Murray, and Murray's out, and he's managed to overtake Louis. We know how strong a runner Vincent Louis is, though.
That's not like Louis. He's usually a lot quicker in transition than that. We saw it yesterday. He was able to take his time in transition because he got the short shoot. Today we don't have that luxury. He's put himself on the back foot. These 2 have some running to do. Johnny Brownlee and Christian Blumenfeld, 4th and 5th.
You can see the gap to the leaders there. We're about to take on that little incline next to the graffiti wall. We've had an accident from Tyler Mislachuk, is it? Yes, it is.
And he's lost a shoe off his pedal. He needs to be aware of that come next transition. You can see only 1 shoe on the right pedal. The other one's been dropped.
He looks like he's hurt himself as well. He was very unlucky last time out in Jersey. He was sick for the entire time. Watched the whole thing from his hotel room just above transition. Alex Yee comes in a minute 10 back. We'll keep you updated on Tyler Mislachuk and his missing shoe, and also his injury, as well as Sylvain Friedelance and João Pereira come in, and I think he's been yellow flagged.
He has.
But Tyler Mislachuk looks in pain. He's trying to run it out at the moment.
Yeah,
but he does not look good.
He's got his swim cap on.
Yeah, he's forgotten about his swim cap. He's just forgotten about that, I think. João Pereira, another to be eliminated. So Sylvain Friedelance and the Olympian from Portugal, João Pereira.
European Athlete of the Year, João Pereira, so that's a huge loss.
That just shows you how tough this racing can be and how specifically suited you have to be able to survive in it.
And Vincent Louis hasn't moved up as quickly as I thought he would. Richard Murray is a magnificent runner. We know he's so good at this multi-day racing, and he just doesn't seem to be moving up. I think Rich has realised there's a bit of a gap. He's had a good transition, and he's going to put the boot in here. Henry Schumann knows that this is the train if he can stay away.
So, 2 more eliminated. Sylvain Friedelance and João Pereira. And at the back of the pack now is Jonas Schaumburg and Alex Yee. 10 seconds behind Andreas Schilling and Tyler Mislachuk, but we'll see how Mislachuk goes after that accident coming into transition.
I think Vincent is definitely under a bit of pressure here.
Yeah.
I think he's clever, he's being canny, he knows he doesn't want to go too hard into the red and catch it all up over a minute of racing when he can do it over 5 or 6 minutes. So he's being clever, so
here he goes now.
I definitely wouldn't write him off.
Yeah, he's moving up now.
I think you can see from his face, it's Christian Blumenfeld and Johnny. Obviously he's pushing it absolutely as hard as he can. I expect these 2, hopefully they race a bit clever now, you know, and again, don't go all in and think, actually, what effort have we got to put in over the next 20 minutes, over these next 4 disciplines now, rather than...
Do you legitimately think Christian Blumenfeld's thinking like that?
Good point.
Here's our trio, the leaders, as the bell rings on the run. Richard Murray, a winner from Hamilton Island, 3rd in Jersey overall. Didn't have the best of days yesterday, but still came 5th in the triple mix. Such is his high standards. Henry Schumann, who raced so well and led for so much, but only to be not robbed at the end, but overtaken at the end.
18 seconds.
Louis.
It's a long way, that.
Yeah,
That
it's a big gap.
really opened up, you know, that swim and that mistake coming out of the swim and onto the bike for Johnny is really cost him dear. And there's not a lot they can do. I think those front 3 are gone, and we could be seeing a race between these 2 for the rest of it.
19 seconds, the official gap between Murray at the front and Brownlee at the back of the 5. Ben Canute, Leo Bergeret And Matthew Sharp is having a much improved day ahead of Hayden Wild, who is all by
Mola.
himself. Mario Mola, where is he exactly?
Yeah, he's dropped Mario Mola. Those two were locked together as they started this run.
I looked at Mario Mola as he came around for that lap, and as he does now, I think he knows where he is in the race, and he's kind of pacing himself in. And for the first time in the last 2 days, him and Hayden Wild aren't neck and neck. Ben Canute's doing a canny race here, actually. I think he's doing more of a time trial now and being clever and you know, again, what can I do for myself rather than getting too caught up in the action that's going on around him.
Well, his second swim was magnificent. You saw him move through the field quicker than anybody. I'd like to see the splits because he could almost have swum the quickest swim split. So if he can stay close...
Mislachuk, can he get in by the mark? And he's just made it home, has he? Yes.
He's going to be out at the end of this lap, though, because is he last in the race now or second last? So
I think that there is a couple behind him, but he's accelerated, and there's the crash from Mislachuk. He just slipped off the pedal slipped off on the pedal, and
his shoe came off the pedal, so it just meant that his foot went flying.
If he does make it back to the run, I don't know what's happened to his shoe, but here he is out on course, and he's starting to run into it. He's forgotten that he's got his swim cap on. He's in such pain, and Jonas Schaumburg, well, his race is over. He is one of the eliminated athletes, and he's been eliminated on the 92nd rule, Jonas Schaumburg. He was a minute 42 back coming through there. Tyler Mislachuk bang on the 1 minute 30 according to our timing screen. So that little push he had just before the dismount line, that was enough to keep him in this race, but he might be regretting that, as such as the pain that he looks like he's in.
Well, Schaumburg being eliminated for the 92nd rule, it opens up for 2 eliminations on this run discipline. So
Vincent Louis, I think he's looking good there. He's in a good position. He paced himself back on, and he's looking good.
He just looks dangerous, doesn't he? He just looks like he's sitting back and waiting to strike.
He's running a very, very smart little triathlon. He's let these 2 boys in front do all the work. As you said, he moved up very, very slowly. He looks comfortable. He knows he's got a massive swim.
I think Henry Schumann here will want to just put a bit of pressure on Murray. You know, if he can get a bit of a gap on Murray, if he can make Murray go a little bit into the red going into the swim, they can open that gap up on the swim and really exploit the fact that his swim isn't his strong point. And these guys will know that.
He's a magnificent feet swimmer, though, Richard Murray. He's very, very difficult to dislodge. He seems to be able to hold feet like no one I've seen. Despite being the weakest swimmer without question, he seems to be a difficult one to dislodge.
Well, I think technically he's good at the transition and the little bits as well. You know, you saw, look, he's just made up a place in that transition. And we saw him get dislodged actually in that last swim, but basically by the time he got into transition on the bike, he was right there again. So, and, you know, these guys weren't, even though they swam maybe a bit better. So I think it just shows how important the transition and this run in and out the water is.
And this is when transitions really matter. Transitions under pressure when you need to find time. These 2.
Everyone looks pretty fatigued at this point. You know, they're on that red line. I'd expect to see. I think I'm going to put a neck on the line. I think Richard Murray is going to get a bit distance on this swim. It'll be interesting to see where he is now. Has he tried to move? Because if you dive in the water first and make those guys have to go around you, you can afford to lose 2 or 3 seconds in those first 200 metres, which might be absolutely crucial. Might be the difference between on feet and not on feet.
In that last swim, you saw Vincent Louis really pushing the pace with Henry Schumann, and Murray was just off the back right before the end of that swim. So with a bit more fatigue, we may be able to see some distance put in.
We'll see Alex, he's moved himself. Oh, Mario Mola's behind. So that was
right out of this one.
A 20-second shift on that lap there. So I think
he's actually in danger of being eliminated, Mario Mola.
He's in danger of being time eliminated. He's at 120 back, which is a long way.
He's going to be out after that next swim.
I think he's not looking like he's putting too much effort into it.
I think he's not even going to do that swim.
He's going to call it Mario Mola.
The water again. So these 2 now, I think the last on the course, in Schilling and Alex Yee. So unless they can move up in this swim, they're going to be eliminated as soon as they get out of the water.
The 3-time world champion won the world championship again just 2 weeks ago. Has decided to call it. He doesn't look too unhappy. I can't hear exactly what he's going to say there. And Tyler Mislachuk, you can see the blood on his knees from that accident in the exact place where we saw him just then. His race is going to end as well, but we continue with Hayden Wild, who continues to make him a name for himself. That does not look good. That's Tyler Mislachuk, who came off.
Nasty crash ruined that. It'd be interesting to see what's going on at the front of the race now. Has Vincent or Henry made that move on the swim that we're kind of all expecting them to make?
Well, that's unfortunate for Tyler Mislachuk, also for Mario Mola, and we hope that he's just pulling up because he doesn't know he's in it. But yes,
you're right, clear order.
They've put away.
Look at that, yes.
Richard Murray.
They need more than that, though. I would say they need probably 4 or 5 body lengths. That's not even 2 yet.
Well, that's only the first swim, boys, so I think this will really start to open up now.
Yeah, I think it will open up. And I think once we start seeing that go up to 4 or 5 body lengths, potentially 10 seconds, and obviously Richard's swimming as fast as he can there to stay. So he'll be going hard, and yeah, this is interesting now.
Can Johnny and Christian close in on Richard Murray, who's going to find himself isolated on this bike?
I think we'll know by the end of the swim. I think Johnny is going to be isolated again at the end of the swim. I expect Christian probably won't swim with him. We saw him lose a bit of time on that swim before, and I can only imagine he's probably going to lose more time now. If we get a wider shot, we'll be able to see. If it goes within 10 seconds, maybe.
Time to hear from Mario Mola, the 3-time world champ. He's with Annie Emerson.
Yeah, 3 times world champion. Crowned 2 weeks ago, but here at Super League it hasn't quite been your day, your weekend.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a tough racing. I gave my best yesterday. Wasn't quite close enough to the guys in front. But yeah, my legs were destroyed today, and that going down to the pontoon, up and down, that really destroyed my quad. So but if I was going one more time down, I was not going to make it out again.
I think it's fair to say you're pretty lean, and the water temperature, the outside temperature today, it's cold, right?
Well, it's hard for everyone, but definitely these guys are racing very hard and very well. So, I mean, I gave my best. My body is empty already now, so I just got to recover and prepare for the next one.
Thoughts on Vincent Louis, because he's absolutely flying this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we know how well this kind of racing suits him. He's a very talented guy, very fast, very strong. And yeah, I mean, it's been great to train with him in the last couple of weeks and months. So yeah, I could expect him doing well.
Okay. Well, bad luck, but we'll see you again very soon.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
And that's a big gap.
Yeah, there's a big gap. Yeah, it's a big gap behind as well. You know, I think we saw that about 20 seconds going into the swim. So if you thought if it stayed at 20 seconds, 10 seconds back to Murray and 10 seconds from Murray back to where Johnny and Christian are, I think it's bigger than that though. I think Henry is swam really fast on that swim leg, and Christian has stayed with Johnny, so maybe they're going to work well through the field together. But these two guys need a really good clinical next minute of their race if they're going to make any inroads on Murray.
Yeah, the pair of them heading up that steep ramp, and we talked about it before, and Mario Mola mentioned it as well, just how steep it is and how hard it is, especially when all the blood is in the top end of your body from that swim and then immediately being forced up that ramp as Henry Schumann and Vincent Louis, they've been locked in a battle all weekend. They seem to have dropped Richard Murray at this point, and the question is now, can Murray hold off the freight train of Christian Blumenfeld with Johnny Brownlee alongside him? And there is Ben Canute coming out of the water with another good swim.
Obviously, normally when you jump on the bike, you've got your shoes elastic band, so they're flat. You jump straight on in your shoes. Your feet are flat on your shoes. They haven't got this time because obviously they can't go reset in transition. So that's why you're seeing a lot of them struggle jumping on the bikes coming out of transition. And spending a bit of time getting those shoes flat, and that's tough. Yeah, this gap back to these two is a long way now. They are.
Yes, it is.
See, he's struggling, slowly get going. I wouldn't put my feet in right now. I'd probably get going, get a bit of speed up. But
would you go past that incline before you get onto the next set of flats?
Yeah, or maybe on the incline. You know, once you've got the bike rolling a bit, and yeah, the downhill is the best place to do it, but there really isn't much downhill on this course to do it. I would just get a bit of speed up, and probably after the dead turn.
Hayden Wild just scraping in on the 90 seconds, so he'll have to do a lot of work if he's to survive another lap. Alex Yee looks behind, sees not enough people in the water, and it doesn't matter anyway because he is well down on that 130. So that is race over for Alex Yee, the 20-year-old. Fantastic runner, doesn't have as much experience in triathlon. There's Andreas Schilling, and his day is over as well. So we're losing people left, right and centre as the pace is pushed at the front.
So this time gap has exploded now. You know, it's gone from 20-25 seconds, I think it was, going into that swim. It's now between Henry Schumann in first and Christian down in fifth. That's 48 seconds. So that swim really opened it up. I think Henry really used that swim, you know, his incredible swimming ability to spread the field out.
There's a fair few athletes now who we could lose the next time They come through on the bike. Matthew Sharp, Ben Canute, both 1 minute and 19 seconds back. Leo Bergeret, 1:24. Hayden Wild, 1:26.
Murray's on.
He has found himself on.
He's on, yeah. So the three of them are together. I'm not sure what happened there. I don't know whether they waited for him or he had a fantastic first lap, but he's on, he's with them, and he neutralised that swim. Vincent is struggling to get his feet in his shoes. He's a lap in and is still playing around with him, so I don't know if something went wrong there.
A big lap from Murray. I can't say. I'm
sure.
sorry.
I mean, they must have waited for him.
Yeah, he had a fantastic transition, but he was still 4 or 5 seconds off going around that Freedom Tree turn. So
I don't think they'd wait. I think maybe something slowed them up a little bit, and then Murray was close, and maybe when they were in a few seconds. But I think, you saw these guys, like we were talking about the shoes, got on and stumbled a bit, whereas you saw Richard Murray get straight on his bike, feet straight on top of his shoes, and there's another 2 or 3 seconds for free straight there. So the guys behind, we can see, aren't going the other way, so they haven't made any inroads yet.
We saw this yesterday with Vincent Louis. He really starts to come into his element in this last stage. He really pushes it. He's going to take a lot of chances in these turns, and he's happy to drop this bike as he's gapped Henry Schumann.
Yeah, he's technically great. I think he's getting a little bit of advantage off the motorbike there, especially out of that roundabout. That was close, and he used it. It's part of racing, and you've got to use everything to your advantage. We can see how close that picture is there, and Henry Schumann struggling to get on him. Vincent could win this race here. He knows that if he comes off the bike, even with 2 or 3 seconds, that's so much easier to win on the run. So and putting the guys behind him in the red.
And it's not like Richard Murray to not chase. So I think Richard's tired.
No, he's going to jump him. He's biding his time.
Yeah.
He'll know he can recover a bit.
There we go.
Yeah, and he knows he can jump. Yeah, there you go. He's absolutely trying to drop him. He needs to keep going and corner. Henry is just losing that little bit around the corners. We saw that as he tried to follow Vincent through the technical section as well.
Couple of looks behind for Vincent Louis, who sees Richard Murray now in second position and knows that he can have one hand on this if the pair of them
Here he goes again.
push away.
Yeah.
Yep. So Vincent Louis will know that Richard Murray finished 5th yesterday, so he's got quite a point advantage, and almost, if we do the permutations, if they can get rid of Schumann, Vincent Louis will win this round in Jersey after having taken 25 championship points before, and we can see the gap stretching now. The rubber band stretching. It hasn't quite snapped yet, but Henry Schumann needs to do everything he can to stay in touch.
Yeah, it's not looking good from here. I think that elastic is going to snap either now or the next time. And
that was clever racing.
Clever racing by both Vincent and Richard Murray. To be fair, Richard, he didn't go straight round. He just had a bit of recovery there on the back of Henry, and then he's made it across the gap when need to be.
That could be the moment that wins Vincent Louis the first round of Super League Triathlon here in Jersey. As we said, he took the full 25 championship points last time out yesterday in the triple mix, and if he can pick up 21, even if he finishes second behind Murray, barring any mishap, he will win this one.
Yeah, that gap's a few seconds now, clear daylight between them, and you can only expect it to grow by probably a handful more seconds in this next lap, which, might be 10 seconds coming off the bike, but that's quite a long distance over a run this short.
It's a bit of deja vu for Henry Schumann. The same thing happened to him yesterday in the last stage. He got ridden off the wheel by Vincent Louis. So now Vincent's got some company, and this will be an interesting run between these two.
Yeah, and I think Vincent's at the front riding hard. We saw Matthew Sharp just got eliminated on that last lap. Vincent's at the front riding hard. Richard's been a bit more tactical here. Is he just saving enough energy to allow him to push on in the last run and take it? We saw him have a great run on the second round of the triple mix yesterday, where he won to get into the short shoot first. We're seeing Johnny's actually been dropped by Christian Blumenfeld here. He looks like he's obviously really hurting. This is taking its toll, and Christian Blumenfeld is still pushing on as hard as ever.
What did Johnny have to say? Did he speak to you yesterday after racing and looking forward to today?
Yeah, he was looking forward to it. He said he was tired going into it. He's had a tough year, and he definitely hasn't quite been himself. But he loves this kind of racing, and I think he just wants to be able to go out there and be competitive.
Well, if you're both going to have a frustrating year, you may as well make it the same year, and 2019 is just around the corner.
True, yeah, or something else to look forward to.
Anyway, at the front of the pack, it is a race in two now between Vincent Louis and Richard Murray. They've put, as you said, a few more seconds, it looks like, into Henry Schumann, and both these guys just have superb bike handling skills, and it's the kind of course that really rewards that.
I think Schoeman's going to start looking around and trying to consolidate his third place now.
Murray's magnificent in transition, and
he is very clinical. Yeah, very clinical. See, Vincent's
off together.
Pretty good. Jostling for position a little bit. We've seen Vincent, well, in the last one he struggled to get his shoes on a little bit. I was looking at that, had the guys changed their laces they'd normally have from Olympic distance, are they? I would have looser laces probably in here to get me again.
That's slow. That's a problem.
They've probably got cold feet, and when you got cold feet, it's much harder to get. Oh no,
that's a big mistake from Vincent Louis, and Richard Murray is about to pounce.
And
it's the defending champion. Defending champion up against yesterday's winner and the current points leader.
I think he'll do the same thing again. He won't try to gas it too hard over this first couple of minutes of running. He'll try and catch him up, but how much will that take out of him? And will that allow, even if he makes it up to Murray now, will that allow Murray to push on in the last 400 or 500 metres to win the race?
We are up to the last of 9 disciplines. We've had over 50 minutes now of racing, and these guys have been leaving nothing out there whatsoever. Johnny Brownlee, you can see, I mean, you know it better than anyone, that looks like he's in a little bit of pain. Christian Blumenfeld always looks like he's in pain, but he just keeps going no matter what. Look at him. Look at him go. I love the way he races. It's absolutely fantastic.
I think he's hoping there's another 2 or 3 rounds of this race.
He finishes the race. I'm fully warm now. I'm ready. I'm warmed up. Everything's ready to go. He'll be looking to maybe find Henry Schoeman up ahead at some point. We'll see how much. But look at this.
All together,
Schoeman's found a way back again. So just as we see, Murray gets shot. We look like he's 10 seconds back. He finds a way back on the bike. And Schoeman, we know he can run to victories. We've seen him do it before. He won wire to wire in Abu Dhabi. We know he's worked so hard on his run, and he's found a way up onto the back of Vincent Louis.
Murray's running hard as well here. It's not like he waited for him. It wasn't a tactical decision, I don't think. You can see from his face that he's giving it pretty much everything he's got. To fair, Vincent and Henry look more comfortable. There you
Here he goes, Henry Schoeman. He's got a little bit left. Now, if Henry Schoeman can win this race, that means he'll win.
Neither of them don't. Well, they haven't responded straight away. So I think Vincent, again, he's being clever here. He's not committing in the first, that first 30 seconds of effort. He's going to do it over a minute instead. So to not go too far in the red. But Henry's making a big move here. You can see his cadence has gone right up, and he's really moving. Murray's gone.
It's a long way from home. A long way from home, and Murray's under a lot of pressure. He's gone. It's not like Richard Murray to not respond to something like that.
Vincent's hurting here, but he's still looking good. His legs are moving, and he's looking good. A little look behind him there, which it probably shows that how much he's hurting, because when someone's beating you should probably always focus on what's in front. But I don't think any of us would have predicted this 2 minutes ago, that Henry had this kind of effort in him.
Henry Schoeman digging deep, going to the well 100%, and Vincent Louis looks like he's pushed up on the back of him. Now these two went 1 and 2 yesterday. Vincent Louis took 25 points. Henry Schoeman was second, took 21 points. If it finishes in the order that they are now, they'll end up equal on points, but courtesy of a win in today's Enduro, Henry Schoeman will stand on the top step of the podium, and it looks like a race between 1 and 2 yesterday, and whoever wins this race will win Jersey. Everything is on the line, and it comes down to the last run. We couldn't have asked for a better way to finish Super League Jersey. Everything is on the line, $20,000 US and a points lead heading into Malta in a month's time.
Absolutely not. This is brilliant racing and really the sharp end of the sport. I think Henry knows that if he hasn't dropped Vincent already, and if he doesn't in the next 200 metres, he's not going to win this. Vincent has a great last 400 or 500 metres of the race. And I think that was his effort, to be honest. Vincent's got up on the shoulder now, and he wouldn't have done that if it hadn't slowed up just a little bit to allow him to do it. I think Henry used his effort up there, and Vincent's ready to pounce.
He looks so composed, Vincent Louis, doesn't he?
Speaking of composed, here comes Christian Blumenfeld using everything he's got in his system. Absolute hard on the sleeve racing. Absolutely love Christian Blumenfeld's racing style. He's all by himself, but it doesn't matter. He'll give everything. Fourth place currently as it stands, and Vincent Louis comes into the top end of the course as they make the slow turnaround until they reach the roundabout, and Henry Schoeman now is doing everything he can to stay with the Frenchman. He knows what's at stake. Vincent Louis could come away with a perfect round, a win in the triple mix and a win in the Enduro, and you can see the gap there back to Richard Murray. He won't play any further part in this one.
No, I don't think Vincent is making his move here. He's gone to the front, he's controlling the pace. He knows this is a tight course. If you probably want to make a move, you probably don't want to make it from behind someone. And I think he probably knows that Henry's made his move, so he's just keeping him under a bit of pressure, so that if he does have the legs to make a move in the last few hundred metres, which I expect he will do, Henry's already under pressure.
Do you think that was a little bit too early from Henry Schoeman if you were in that position and you had a little bit left to give?
I think it was early, but I think it was his card. He knew that if he got in the last 600 metres with someone like Vincent Louis, it wasn't going to happen for him, because he's got such a renowned fast finish, and it's fair. He's got rid of Richard Murray. If he hadn't made that move, and he made that move now with 400 or 500 metres to go, he probably would have still had Richard Murray there, and Richard Murray thinking, well, I've only got 400 metres, maybe a minute to hang on to this, and he would have still been in the race.
You have these two right-hand turns, and Vincent looks a little bit stronger out of those corners, but I think Henry looks a little better than he did cresting that top hill. He needs to stay looking forward.
Yeah.
He doesn't have far to go now. It can't be more than 200 or 300 metres around the back end of the course, and Henry Schoeman has stayed with Vincent Louis, so we'll just see what happens if it arrives in probably has a little bit more power, Louis, coming out of that bottom turn.
Yeah, Vincent does cope with the corners and the speed bumps and the changes of direction just a little better. You can see he's starting to stride out a bit now. I would expect this next left-hand bend as they come back down onto the straight.
He's lost him.
That's a little bit downhill. I would expect to really start winding it up. Yeah,
Vincent Louis.
He knows he's got it.
Look at that crowd, 6 or 7 deep as he turns for home.
Yeah. Oh, he opened right up.
Yeah, and Henry's gone. He knows he's not catching that.
A great effort from Vincent Louis, and look at all of the eliminated athletes cheering them on. But Vincent Louis is digging deep now. That's the only time he hasn't looked completely composed during all of this racing, but he's going to do it again over Henry Schoeman. 1-2 yesterday and 1-2 today. And this Frenchman has announced himself in Super League Triathlon racing with a perfect round. Henry Schoeman waving to the crowd behind. He's done well today, but Vincent Louis, high fives both sides, and fair enough. A win yesterday, a win today. And our Super League champion here in Jersey with a perfect weekend is Vincent Louis. Henry Schoeman with 2 second placings, 42 points to the 50, and Richard Murray loves this racing. He loves the crowds, and he's given everything he can and picked up a 3rd position to go with his 5th yesterday. And I have to say, compared to this time out in Jersey last year, the racing has gone up yet another level.
Yeah, I think it has. I think Vincent Louis had an almost perfect 2 days there. You saw today, to be honest, that the race, even when he made a mistake, so that the shoes in transition both times where he lost a couple of seconds here or there, he had enough in the tank to be able to cope with it and overcome it, which is really what triathlon and especially this kind of triathlon Super League racing is all about.
Another gutsy race from Christian Blumenfeld. You can be sure you'll give 100% and have nothing left in the tank.
You're not wrong.
I think we're seeing that there. And Johnny Brownlee, with plenty of home support, comes home in 5th position.
And this race is blown apart. I mean, where the rest of the field, where I don't think we've even seen the rest of the field for the last few minutes.
Somewhere out there is Leo Bergeret. Not sure where. Could be somewhere. Might see him a bit later on.
But a fantastic race all the same for him to finish 6th.
To finish in the Super 6, if you like, to even make it in there. The class of the field to make it in there is absolutely outstanding, and Johnny Brownlee has given everything he can to Super League, and here comes Leo Bergeret in 6th position.
He's had a great race.
I think in the future, as we have more Enduros, we'll realise what an effort it is to actually arrive in the last 6.
To finish, yeah. Maybe there should be an award for 6th place, something.
So he's seen his countrymen do the job, and Leo Bergeret on what has been an absolutely fantastic weekend for France in both the men's and the women's will come in 6th position, and I don't think he's ever given so many high fives in his life.
He's going to be over 9 seconds down though, and I know he's not going to get eliminated, but does that mean he finishes with no points now?
No, he finishes.
No, he does. He does finish with
points. Because it was on the last lap.
Yeah, but as soon as they reach the 6, all bets are off, and it's a race to the end. He's done.